Have you ever had a passion just fizzle out? That initial fire for a relationship or a project, or maybe a cause that once burned so brightly, but now it just feels like a distant memory? It's a feeling we all get, right? Well, today, we're going to dive into a really powerful ancient text that talks about this exact thing. And it doesn't just give a warning, it gives a clear roadmap for how to get that first love back. So, to get us started, let's talk about someone you've probably heard of, King Solomon. The guy was legendary for his wisdom, and he started out with this incredible devotion, but his story is a huge cautionary tale. See, he didn't have some big, dramatic crash and burn moment. It was a slow drift, a bunch of small compromises that over time just pulled his heart away. It's a pretty powerful reminder that even the absolute brightest flame can dim if you don't keep tending to it.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to explore that fading flame. Then we'll look at a really urgent warning from the book of Revelation. After that, we'll unpack a clear three-step path to get back on track, figure out what this lampstand thing is all about, and then wrap it all up with what this message is truly about, a call back to love.
That story about Solomon's drifting heart? Well, it's the perfect setup for our first section, because it's almost the exact same issue that a church in the ancient city of Ephesus was dealing with. Their problem, though, was maybe even a little more subtle. The diagnosis for this church in Ephesus is pretty fascinating. On the outside, they looked great. They were busy, they were teaching the right things, they were doing a lot of things right. Their problem wasn't some huge public scandal. No, it was a loss of intimacy, a loss of closeness. They were still going through all the motions, but that heartfelt, passionate devotion, it was gone. So this brings us to the very core of what we're talking about today. In the book of Revelation, Jesus himself speaks directly to this church, and he gives them a very specific, and I mean very urgent diagnosis.
Now, really listen to those words. This is a powerful statement, and it's got two really distinct parts. First, there's a three-part prescription for how to fix things, how to get back on track. And second, there's a serious warning about what happens if they don't. The stakes here are incredibly high.
Okay, so let's shift gears from the problem to the solution. Because this isn't just about criticism, it's a clear, actionable path to get that fire back. Jesus lays out three specific things they and we need to do. And here they are, right here. The path back is, remember, repent, and return by doing the first works. These three steps are absolutely key to rekindling that first love. But to really get what they mean, we need to look at what these words meant in the original language. So that first step, remember. This isn't about getting all sentimental and nostalgic like you're flipping through an old photo album. The Greek word used here is mnemonio, and it means to deliberately, consciously recall something. It's an action. It's an intentional mental process of realigning yourself with that high point of devotion you've fallen from. Next up is repent. Now, this is a word that carries a lot of baggage, right? We often think it just means feeling bad or guilty for your mistakes, but it's so much deeper than that. The real meaning of metanoia is to fundamentally change your mind, to change your inner direction. Think of it like a U-turn for your heart, turning your whole being back towards God. And finally, do the first works. This is not about just getting busier or checking more boxes on some religious to-do list. The first works are the things that flow naturally from a heart that is on fire with love. They're the fruit of that close relationship, not the labor of cold, hard obligation. Okay, so we have the prescription, we have the three steps, but what about that warning? Let's tackle that really intense part about removing the lampstand. It sounds incredibly severe, so it's really important we understand what's actually at stake here. This is the question that just jumps out, isn't it? What on earth does it mean for a church to have its lampstand removed? Does it mean they're doomed? That God has rejected them forever? Let's clear this up right now. This slide really makes the crucial difference crystal clear. Look, on the left side, what it is not. The removal of the lampstand is not a threat of losing your personal salvation. It's not about being wiped out or finally rejected by God. Instead, look at the right side. It's about losing your function. It's the loss of the church's public witness, its spiritual authority, and its influence in the world. Basically, the light goes out. See, the lampstand symbol has deep historical roots. Back in the Old Testament tabernacle, the golden lampstand represented God's presence and his light shining among his people. And there was a pattern. Whenever Israel replaced that heartfelt love with empty, hollow ritual, God's presence eventually departed.
So this warning to Ephesus is basically an echo of that history, saying, hey, don't make the same mistake.
And this isn't just some isolated idea either. It's a theme that runs all through the Bible. As you can see in this table, we see it when Jesus warns that the kingdom can be taken away. We see it when Jeremiah talks about people drifting far from God, and when John writes about a branch being cut off from the vine. In every single one of these cases, a lack of a real, loving connection leads to a loss of purpose and influence.
So let's bring this all home. When you step back and look at the whole picture, you realize this passage isn't mainly a threat. It's actually a passionate, urgent invitation from Jesus to his people. It's a call to revival. It's a call to come back.
So, what's the bottom line for you and me today? Well, here it is. Restoration always begins by returning to that first love. Jesus wants a real relationship, not just you going through the motions. That love, that's the fuel that keeps our lamp, our public witness, burning bright. And that's why this warning isn't a final judgment. It's conditional. It's a loving, restorative wake-up call to come back before the light fades. You know, ultimately, this all comes back to the most passionate act of love you can even imagine. The cross was never a cold, calculated transaction. It was a fire of sacrificial love. And if that's our source, if that's where we come from, then our own flame really shouldn't be cold either. And that leaves us with this final, piercing thought. It's a challenge that just cuts through all the noise of religious activity, doesn't it? The call isn't just to work harder or be better. It's a call to go back to the very beginning, to not just serve him, but to truly, deeply love him again.